Hi everybody, how's it going? Getting started a few minutes later than usual. I was futzing around with the tech setup a little bit because I'm trying something new. I am streaming through 2 different channels today. I am available on Twitch and on YouTube, and I have both chats open and everything. So feel free to chat with me if you are watching. Love talking to people about stuff and things. Okay, so let's get into the stream, because why not? You're here to watch code, right? So let's switch over to the view with the text editor and all that stuff. And let's take a look at what we are up to today. So today, we are up to these things. It's kind of a mixed bag today, so I'm probably going to end up breaking it out into a few separate videos in the post-processing. But it'll be in one stream, because that's how streams work. So today we're going to talk about a few different things in that mixed grab bag of things. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about billing limits on Google Cloud Platform, and there is some context to that. So I'll also explain the background story. Then we spent the last 3 sessions doing kind of my silly meta conversation about when is a good time to stream on Twitch, which is really just kind of crawling the Twitch API to see when people tend to stream and when people tend to watch other people code, just so we can get a good idea of when is a good time to reach people. It's a very simplistic thing, but it was fun to write. A fun experience with the Twitch API. But anyway, we have about a week of data accumulated from our new and improved merge script. So let's take a look at that data, drop it into a spreadsheet, maybe show some charts, and make some conclusions maybe. And then after that, we will continue on with the big project that started this whole stream, which is CloudSpin v2, which is a big project that'll probably take me many, many, many weeks to complete. We're going to start off with some very exciting cleanup of me moving some source code around into the correct repository, adding license headers and all that kind of stuff to make it all clean up and clear to users to know what if they can use that code. And then with time allowing, we'll be coding till about 1:30 Pacific time, so the next 95 minutes or so. So with time allowing, I will be working on the Android app parts of CloudSpin. Probably also doing some kind of general flow diagrams, which would be cool to do. Yeah, I'll do some kind of general flow diagrams. And I think I have a neat idea of how to make diagrams appear on the stream using an iPad. I have an iPad with one of those pencil things, and I think I can show it to you if I have enough CPU, which should be fun. So we'll do some diagrams, do some cleanup, do some Android app, then we will get going. So without further ado, let's get started and let's talk about Google Cloud Platform billing limits. So there is a story behind this. Somebody pinged me on Twitter and said that he followed one of my videos, specifically the video from an earlier stream on CloudSpin, where we put FFmpeg up into a Cloud Function and used it to transcode some video clips. And it worked. It worked great for short video clips. And he reported to me that he had somehow racked up a $500 bill, which is a bummer. I'm really bummed about that because I went back and looked at how much I spent while I was recording that video, and it was only 8 cents. So something is seriously up. And this is generally kind of one of the things that can be an issue when you're doing cloud computing stuff in general, is when you have access to lots of stuff, lots of compute resources, you can use them up really rapidly. This is especially the case with a lot of the big data products, like using BigQuery or something like that. You can rack up a bill pretty fast. So one of the things you should do before you run through any of my videos or any code labs or anything on Google Cloud Platform or any cloud provider is you should investigate the ways to set up billing limits, billing alerts, and stuff like that, so you don't run up more bill than you're willing to absorb for your experiment. For example, you can see most of my is still running in the free tier, within the projects. This is where you can see estimated charges for that period of time, which is great and all. And you can also, when a billing period is done, you can also go back and you can also export. You can take a look at transactions. You can also export your billing information from your projects. We were tinkering with Giphiator. You can export it out to a storage bucket so you can look at it in detail. And this is a lot of detail, a lot of different line items. And it's broken down in so much detail that, this is the BigQuery export. It's broken down in so much detail that a lot of people export it out to big query, so they can, it's big enough that they want to do some big queries against it, or maybe mash it up with some other information in their system. So we can see what this looks like now. So we can go, like right now, I'm setting a billing export to a bucket miming Twitch billing, and what this does is on a regular basis, it takes a file, a CSV file, and dumps it out to that bucket. So let's go take a look and see what the files look like in that bucket. So this is in storage. So we'll go over to the storage browser, and we'll see that there is indeed a bucket, and it does have a bunch of CSV files in it. And I'm going to take a peek at one off camera because I have not actually looked at them ahead of time, and I do not know if there is fancy information in there that I need to be aware of. So let me go into super secret hacker mode real quick and take a look at these to see if it is something I can share with you. It has a lot of detail on it, and I need to go through here first to make sure there's nothing in there that I want to hide. But it has, the line items are incredibly detailed, so you can get a lot of value out of that. But that's only kind of like retrospective information. Say you want to get a notification when one of your processes, like you spun up one of those cloud functions and it might have been running, or someone might have started poking it a whole lot because you didn't set up any access control. So if you go back over to billing, there's another feature, which is something I strongly recommend all of you to do, which is budgets and alerts. So you can do is you can create a budget and an alert for a particular project. You can go up here to create them. And I'll show you the one I created that I'm going to be using for the duration of my streaming. I set one up called streaming cap, and it is tied back to the billing account I set up specifically for this purpose, because this is organized by billing account. And a billing account can actually be associated with many GCP projects, which goes back to one of my favorite parts of Google Cloud Platform, is that you can kind of break up your organization into a whole bunch of different projects that have by default separate network topologies and all that other stuff. But you can group them up into a single billing account, so that if you're doing big spending and like you have them set up to use an invoicing, or if they're just pulling off a credit card, you can group projects up together and get one bill for them, which also allows you to set up one alert across multiple projects, which is pretty cool. So I set up the project such that if ever I go through more than $20, it will tell me immediately. And you can also set up tiers so that you can have, like, for example, you can have it so that when you hit 80% of your budget, you get a notification. When you hit 100% of your budget, that last $20, then you get another notification. So you can get the warnings before you hit that threshold. You can set as many of these different tiers as you want. And this is the most holistic, widest net way to kind of keep an eye on your billing proactively on Google Cloud Platform. And I strongly recommend you do it for any experimentation you do. It is totally worth your time, and it can totally save headaches later. Yeah. So I set that up. I even just changed it. So now I'll get a ping when different things happen relative to my budget. I get an alert at 80 and 100%. And these will be delivered, the way my account is set up in notifications, these will be delivered by email, which I believe is the default. And then I can take action when that kind of stuff happens, which is cool. But going back to what I discussed earlier, I have only spent 8 cents on cloud usage for everything I've done on stream so far. So I don't know if I'm actually going to run into this while I do more hacking. Although I'm sure at some point, once the Cloud Spin stuff gets moving a little bit more, I'm sure we'll start to blow through more than this. Because some of this goes back to one of the things Cloud Spin is trying to demonstrate. Cloud Spin is a demo of how fast we can get resources up and run them to solve a common problem, which means that kind of by design, it's a little bit inefficient on purpose. I'm kind of wasting CPU resources. I could always optimize it a lot more at software level to make smarter use of resources. But that goes back to the story I'm trying to tell with Cloud Spin. Cloud Spin is also a demonstration of our ability to move a lot of computation resources around quickly. So I imagine that once we make some progress in it, we're going to be able to blow through this threshold pretty quickly, and we can see these notifications coming in action. But I will get back to that when we get to that. So yes, TLDR, if you're following along with me, please set up a budget and an alert so you know if anything fishy is happening with your Cloud Platform account, so you can keep an eye on it. And so you can make sure that you don't spend more than you want to spend while learning how to hack around on this stuff. And if you have any questions about that, of course, please reach out to me and I'll help you get that going, because that's important. Okay, enough about boring stuff. We have our billing alert, our budget alert. I guess it's technically called a budget alert. Let's get that properly specified. So we'll mark that one off as done. We'll change that bullet to an asterisk. Okay, so next up on our project is when to stream, analyzing the results. So let's take a look and see what happened on our script. Previously, the week before, whenever the programming community went up or down from the second page of results, the first page of second page, we were hard-coded on the second page. Whenever it moved around from the second page of results, it didn't get any data, and the cloud function ran for 60 seconds and eventually crashed, which is a bummer. But it didn't run very often, so it was not that costly. But since then, it's actually run much better. So if we expand out all of the data on where Twitch Tracker is filing data away, we can see that it is big enough that it made my browser grumpy. So let's try loading that. Let's try taking another peek at that data. Otherwise, I'll just pull it in through the REST API. But it's been running for about a week. So we should have a week's worth of hours, which is, oh wow. Killed that tab. It's a lot of data, I guess. I tried to force it to load at once. But yeah, there's a bunch of them there now. And we have them roughly every hour. So it looks like the changes we made actually worked. We can see this is it probably moving down to the 4th page. And we also probably have the more popular times. Oh wow. 34 people watching, 8 people streaming. So apparently it gets pretty light sometimes. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, GMT time. So let's take all this data out and let's just dump it into Sheets. So if I want to pull JSON into Sheets, I could write some code that will go and remunge this and put it into delimited stuff. Maybe there's a better way. So let's ask the internet if there's an easier way. Is there an how to import JSON data into Google Sheets in less than 5 minutes? We can use AppScript. That's cool. Oh, there's an import JSON function. Oh, that's cool. It's built into Sheets already. I bet we can point this if we open up read access. Oh no, this is a script. Okay, so a script that adds a function, import JSON. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look at this. And this, of course, is a situation we always need to be a little bit cautious, because whenever you pull data from an external system into a spreadsheet, you're opening yourself up to spreadsheet injection vulnerabilities. I know, crazy, isn't it? The script is not actively maintained. I wrote a quick for a project in 2012. Hey, it might still work though. And it's on GitHub too. So we can take a peek at it and see if it is worth saving our time. Otherwise, we can write a couple lines of code to remunge this. Let's take a look at, and it is under GPL version 3. So the license is clear. And it does lots of sanitization and stuff. Oh, this is pretty nice. I think that I'm just going to do the one-liner approach, though. And let's see if there's any other results that stand out. A bunch of other like scripts and stuff like that. We're just going to do it with stupid one-liners. So we're going to go back up to the database. We're going to release our security rules and make this world readable. Because what I could do is I could use an authenticated client to do the reads and that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be a little bit lazy today. Whoops. Okay, there's my terminal. Need a terminal to do stuff. So there is, here's the code where we're doing our work. I'm just going to pull it down and do some like ugly stuff. Try again. This is awkward. Security rules page, there it goes. Okay, so right now it's locked down entirely, so you can only access it from, in our case, we're accessing it from a cloud function, which is running as a privileged client. So I just made the security rules. Basically, nobody has access unless they're a privileged administrator. Like I'm using the admin SDK for the cloud function. So let's just change this to true. Now everybody can read the data. So all of you who are fast at URL hacking can go up and read the data. Feel free to. We're going to go grab this URL, and we're just going to pull it down locally with curl. Oh, there's the data CSV right there. Your data. Curl-o, let's pull it down from the REST API. There we have it, 21 kilobytes of data in .json. A strange file name it picked, curl-o. Oh, well, obviously, because the end of the URL, curl-o just pulls that off. So I should have piped it to a file instead of using -o. Anyway, so this is a snapshot from the 31st of October, Halloween. Because I'm going to leave the script running. But, so I just want to get the snapshot for now. Let's take a look at it. One huge line. Okay, so it kind of freaked out. Oh, I have my arguments in the wrong order, but that's okay. Cool, okay, so we have lots of data in there. So let's just do some shell smashing on it until we get the data we want. We'll force it into roughly comma delimited text, which is pretty easy for us because of the way we structured it. So where do we want to split it? We probably want to split it on these keys or curly braces. Okay, so first let's just make it pretty. So cat, our file, we want to pipe that over to python-mjson.tool to make it pretty. This is kind of my favorite way to kind of munge around with data. Okay, so now we have some JSON. It's pretty. Yay! So what we don't actually care about these IDs. We just want to get these three onto a single line, comma delimited, and then we want to get rid of the keys. So what's the easiest way for me to smash all those onto a single line? So I'll use Vim. So we'll pull it up in Vim, and we'll do our RegEx hacking here. Go to the end. There's a better key for that. Then what we want to do is we want to do a search and replace of So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of use a RegEx to smash these all into one line, and then I'll use a regular expression to remove the keys. Maybe I should remove the keys first. Dot star, open curly brace. Oh, but I can probably use the curly braces to determine the beginning of it. No, I'll just remove it. There, got rid of those. Now we can do, regexes are great. Dot star, close curly brace, dot star \n. Global. Cool, okay, so now we have just the data we care about. And now what we want to do is, oh, somehow I've managed to get it to highlight those. So now what we want to do is we want to, it's angry because it's trying to do JSON syntax highlighting on something that is no longer JSON. And it's grumpy because there's no commas after viewers. So now what we want to do is we want to get channels. dot star. Okay, so how do I want to do this? So channels, it's going to give me a number. So I want to do a multi-line regex match on this. Delimited by, it ends with channels. So what I want every third new line, every second and every third new line to go away. So there's probably a really easy way to do this. So backslash n, and then a not new line, and then a bunch of those. Well, the first one doesn't have a new line, so we'll do channels, backslash n, not a new line. Then what we want is colon space and then 0 through 9. So I actually don't care about any of that stuff. So channels is there. We'll do dot star channels, then we get numbers 0 through 9 star, and that is, I think I'll look before I leap, so I'll just do a match first. 0 to 9, comma, backslash n. Then we have a timestamp, which I do want to keep. And this is going to be timestamp. So do I want to, I can probably just do not quotes. So not quotes star quote, comma, backslash n. And the thing I actually want is this part. And then this will go to viewers. Viewers, there's probably a much easier way to do this using like a real parser, but I don't know. I spent too long building Perl stuff, I guess. And this is another numeric one, 0 through 9. And this one does not have it after it has a new line at the end. Pattern not found. Not terribly surprising. Okay, so which part is not found? Let's just do this a chunk at a time. So can I find channels? No. Is that because the parentheses have different meaning in this context? Yes. Okay, let's just try doing this all as a big ol' nasty giant match. Because apparently the parentheses, when you're using them in a regular finder instead of other selector, make things sad. So this is, what is this going to be? Backslash 2, backslash 2, backslash 3, and then, no, that didn't work either. Okay, so let's try doing this one at a time. So, oh, these tabs are spaces, okay. We'll incrementally do this. Instead of trying to do it in one big ol', there we go, we got rid of all the spaces. We'll do this incrementally in a bunch of different passes. So I probably don't want to get rid of all of these identifiers, but I can probably get rid of some. Because I'll need some of them as markers to do my other stuff. So first of all, does that match viewers? Yes, it does. So now that I've matched viewers, I want to match viewers and then 0 through 9, star. Does that replace? Hey, it totally worked. Okay. So let's undo that, go back to line 1. And then what we will do is we will grab these. And then this should be. So why are my parentheses not matching? Do I need to escape these? Yes, apparently I did. Okay, so that was the problem. So, so that's putting it on. So our viewers before or after channels. Viewers are before, viewers are at the very end of the line. So I do not want to remove that trailing new line. I want to have a comma ahead of them, and I want to remove the leading new line. Yay, okay. And then we have a double comma there, but we can clean that up later. Let's do the same thing for timestamps. This is also the way not to do anything ever, but I will do it anyway. Oops. It's the way I deal with munging some of this data in a way I'm never going to reuse again. Although I'm probably actually going to reuse this again. I should probably do it better, but whatever. Okay, so timestamp comes, it has a quote, and then it has a quoted date, which is not 0 through 9. It is a not quote. And then it ends with a quote, and then a comma. And then what we want to replace that with is that. Okay. Hey, it kind of worked, although I probably want to quote that field. So let's undo it, and let's add quotes around our thingamajig. There we go, because it's good to have stuff quoted in CSV. And then finally, we need to get rid of channels and then clean up those double commas. So channels is gone. Hey, we have roughly comma separated values. So comma space, it should actually be a comma in the CSV spec. So that looks like CSV data. Why not? Okay, so we have our pretty JSON-like thing. Let's go take a look at this. Let's try importing this into a spreadsheet and see what happens. So let's go ahead and go to sheets.google.com. I'm going to make a new sheet. Call it Twitch live streaming stuff. Oh, when to stream. I have the name. I have a name for this project. And this is the munge data from. So let's go import that. File import. And then I'm going to open this up. We have this data here. Let me go upload. And I can just drag a file in from my computer. And this is actually not JSON file. This is actually CSV now. Use CSV. And hey, is it still the same? Yay! Hey, the preview thing knows how to read it. Maybe this will too. We're going to insert into exist current sheet. We will detect automatically separator, and hey, we have stuff. So the one thing I'm wondering about, because I want to do a time series chart, is does, first let's add a header row. So insert row above. So channels, when, timestamp, and viewers. So let's make this bigger. So let's make this bigger so it's easier for all of you to see. Okay, so here's our data. I'll drag the timestamp over to there. We have our channels, we have our viewers. And hey, look, it's like data-like stuff. So one thing I'm curious about is will it understand this as a date? So if I go over and say, hey, it's a date. No, it didn't understand it. That's a bit of a bummer. I was hoping it would understand these. So, but maybe if I tell them it's a data format. How about a date time? Nope, still doesn't understand that format. What if I remove one of those things? Format, number, date time. Nope. Maybe it's the decimal it doesn't like. Maybe it needs a space instead of a T. Hey, that figured it out. That got it figured out. Okay, so what if I just remove the T on that one? Format, number, date time. So it doesn't like the Z. Doesn't like the Z or the T. So those are the only T's and Z's anywhere in the spreadsheet. So I could go back and do it with a regular expression, but I'm just going to use regular old search and replace. So the T's we're going to replace with space, and the Z's we're going to replace with nothing. And hey, now it understands what they are. That makes me feel a little yucky inside. But hey, it works. It's amazing what you can actually just accomplish with just a simple search and replace. So now that we have that, let's do a little format, number, date, time. They're all in a common format now. And we have 233 samples, so we can build a little time series chart. I haven't done a chart in a spreadsheet in a long time. There's probably a better command line charting tool I should be using, but I'm just going to say, hey, give me a chart. Oh my gosh, it kind of worked right away. That's pretty cool. So we have the channels and the viewers over a time series. Oh, wait. There was another T in there. Okay. So here is our time series chart. And what we can see is that there's been a huge drop in people in the programming community recently. It's much more spiky. And that's probably because I was losing out on these bottom samples and the topmost samples. That's really interesting. Okay, so let's change this over to a logarithmic chart. Can I do that? I would love the vertical axis to be logarithmic. Yay, we totally can. Okay, so that kind of gives us an idea of the ratio between these in a logarithmic sense. And so basically it tells me that the number of people streaming, these are the real results. The number of people streaming over time, we can disregard this whole chunk. So I'm actually going to go back and cut everything away before the 24th because that data is all garbage because we're missing samples. So I'm going to go get rid of all of this stuff. And then I'll just delete all these rows. Delete rows. Data's mashed up there. Okay. So this is what we actually have as a result. This is a logarithmic scale graph, and it shows us that, yes, not surprisingly, internet behaviors kind of track each other. But the number of viewers fluctuates a lot more than the number of people who are streaming. So what this seems to imply is that sometime between like 19 and 2100 hours GMT time is the time when there are hundreds of people watching, versus on the troughs, there are as few as 36 people watching at 9 a.m. GMT, which I don't actually know what that is for an E. GMT, N, PT, PDT, PT. I'm PDT right now. So that's 2 a.m. my time is a bad time to stream. But right around 1900 GMT, so that's 7 p.m. I don't know, we'll understand 1900? I hope so. No, it didn't. 7 p.m. GMT or 12 p.m. So going from that from like 11 a.m., hey, I'm actually hitting right around the best times to go. So it sounds like for me, all the way down to like this peak is right around 2200 hours. This peak was at 1600 hours with another peak at, okay. But yeah, it seems like 2200 hours, 2200 hours. It's almost always about 2200 hours. Interesting. Oh yeah, I do 24-hour time. I'm one of those weirdos. So 2200 hours is 10 p.m. GMT, which is also 3 p.m. So which means I should probably be shifting my stream a little bit later to get access to a wider audience if that was one of my goals. And that might be something I do as a result of this. So it seems like starting around lunchtime in San Francisco and going into the early afternoon, which seems to make a lot of sense, because that is the time when a lot of East Coasters who go to work earlier and get off work earlier are getting home and decide they want to watch coding when they first get home. And it's also hitting, that's still a reasonable time in the evening for people in Europe. 2200 hours to 10 p.m. So people are watching some coding streams later. And so there's some interesting spikes here. I wonder if these correspond to particularly popular streamers doing events or something like that. So anyway, that was a good, cursory, non-scientific gut feel analysis, and we do actually have some information on when people like to stream and when people like to watch people stream. Oh my gosh, there were 5 channels at one point. So sad. when people like to watch people stream. That was a very enlightening exercise, and it was a really fun opportunity to play around with Cloud Functions and develop opinions about using promises on realistic problems relative to APIs and stuff, which is cool. Okay, so we have some results. When to stream. I'm going to take a screenshot of this because it's going to go up onto the GitHub repo. IMSAMP. I should probably fix that though, because it still has my channels and viewers. Where did it put IMStamp? So that's the horizontal axis, so I should say that around here. But that's those labels. Oh, I can sign them. That's cool. That makes them a little easier to read. Oh, I can make this chart a lot easier to read. I probably just want this to be time, don't I? Oh, I wish I could break this down by date and time, but I don't think this is a sufficiently complicated graphing tool to be able to do that. How do I change that part? IMStamp. When? There we go. And then channels and viewers. And most people actually don't like logarithmic charts. So I'm going to change this back to an absolute chart, because all I really care about is the fact that it doesn't fluctuate that much. So where is that? That was under series. Nope. Charts and axes. Vertical axis. Boop. Log scale gone. Okay, so this basically reveals that like the number of people streaming doesn't really fluctuate all that much. The number of people watching has huge spikes at that time. Which I don't know if that was apparent from the previous incarnation of the chart on logarithmic view, but it's cool. Okay, so that'll probably go up into a write-up of this stuff. Yay! And then I'm gonna, I'm not gonna delete this data. I'm gonna leave this running indefinitely, because why not? And then with that, we can move on to the next topic to look into. Let me just keep an eye on my notes real quick. Go back here, make sure I'm not missing anything important to talk about. All right. So let's move on into the next task. We can close on out this Firebase viewer and bring back up our little to-do list. We did the when to stream, analyzing the results, and that was tons of fun. We hacked around in Vim with regular expressions. We dumped it into a spreadsheet. I should probably come up with a pipeline with that actually works better and makes a pretty chart. That would be cool. I don't think I'm ever going to do that. I don't think it's worth my time to make a more robust version of that. Yeah, and then we're going to move on into actual coding for CloudSpin v2, coding that is beyond the smattering of RegEx is like splotched about. And we use the unified name for that project. And we're going to move on back into CloudSpin 2. So we're going to spend some time doing some cleanup, basically moving code around different source repositories. Then I might spend some time kind of working on a general flow diagram, but basically I'm going to dive into an Android app. We're going to discuss, we're just going to do some Android live coding. Sound like fun? I hope so. It's a little bit of a departure from what I've done in the past. Oh yeah, we'll get back to that one later. Let me move that up to the top of this. Boop. Windows Stream design. This one's kind of done for now. This one is kind of done for now. Yay. Yeah, so Windows Stream is done. It is a monstrosity of terrible code. But with any project, you have to kind of decide that point in time, that line in the sand you draw, when that's enough goodness. Because, you know, there is no good code out there, which makes me a little sad. So let's go ahead and move code around like I said I would. So let me pull up this, and let's take a look at the current situation on, where is that code living right now? So I don't remember. I made a directory to tinker around with this stuff. I'm going to reveal my whole look around at my, look for a file system and see where that stuff's actually living. Nothing too interesting there. going back to a directory I am comfortable showing on camera. So we have the WinStream project, which is pretty much wrapped up. But you can see all little echoes of the projects I've done in the past, blogs I run, and like things I hacked out for one talk. I'm trying to find the code we did for all those cloud functions on the Cloud Spin stuff. I don't remember where I stashed that. I might actually have to go back and look at, oh my gosh, look at my previous streams, which is kind of silly. Pirate security rules, Windows stream, Twitch tracker. Okay, so they're not in my snippets directory, my snippets repo, which is where a lot of that stuff likes to live. Are they in? Did I actually? Nope, I didn't put them in the Cloud Skin repo. This is where they're actually going to live from this point on. I have to find out where I stashed them in the meantime. Well, where might I have put them? I'm sure this is the most fun stuff to watch someone do, is like, where did I put my code? It's not hipster hello. It's not ESP8266 pub sub. It's not JavaScript MIDI stuff. Well, where did I do that kind of work? I did it on IntelliJ, so maybe IntelliJ will tell me where it is. I'm looking at some past projects I have on IntelliJ, and GIF function. That's where one of them lives. Do they all live in GIF function? That's a silly place to put them. So I'm just kind of poking around here. Gifiator, that is where I deploy them. This does indeed seem to be the terribly named project where I did a lot of that tinkering. Because we have the frame extraction, that's all the FFmpeg stuff. We have the thumbnail processing. We have all of that stuff. Okay, so this is actually where I did it. Pardon me. So hey, we found it. That's great. So let's copy all of this stuff into the Cloud Spin project and name it appropriate names. So what I want to do is C-R, the entire GIF function directory, into Cloud Spin. Oh, actually first, before we go and pollute that directory, let's make sure there's nothing there. Oh, there's some stuff there. Git branch. So I'm just going to do some cleanup on some half-done stuff I did before. When I was working with the previous developer who helped me on this project, Hassani, my intern, did a bunch of work on this. So we'll be building on top of the work he did. But there was a branch I worked on where I was doing some Camera 2 work with the Android Camera 2 API as a demonstration, and I appear not to have checked in all the different changes I made. So we're going to push these. Some old changes I forgot to push. And that's not a branch it may not be a branch I actively end up using anyway, but I just want to get it stashed away. Let's pull this branch. There's a bunch of stuff coming down. Cool. I've been neglecting this project. And there's a bunch of no tracking information on the current branch. Uh-oh. So there's a bit of a mess of stuff going on here. So there's another branch for doing extraction of frames with FFmpeg. We have another branch that's doing recording. And a bunch of other branches that came down. There's no tracking information from the current branch. Please specify which branch you want to merge with. So, does this one have any... Is this actually a remote branch available? Activity Camera 2 test? No, it is not. So let's go ahead and push this up. Switch over to the master branch. The master branch is behind by 34 commits. Wow, there's some work that probably needs to be merged in. So let's pull over to the master branch. A bunch of stuff happens. Wow, okay, there's a bunch of stuff. Oh, a bunch of changes. This is one of the things that happens on Android apps a lot. You just have lots of changes that kind of float through. Little changes can impact a bunch of files. And there's a Cloud Functions directory now. And with the Firebase RC. Which is going to CloudSpin 2a. So great. Okay, so that's deploying to a project. There's some stuff here too. CloudSpin 2a. We're in the backend directory that was in functions. So that's all of the stuff we're using for Node. Well, there's actually unit tests. And this is a testing vision API. Code might need a little bit of cleanup. So we're probably going to take that code and kind of stash it off to the side while we work on it. And then what's in that Firebase JSON? Sometimes that contains information on security rules and stuff, but nothing here today. So that Firebase RC is redundant. We're going to so we have most of that stuff already re-implemented. So we're going to move it off to the side for later. Okay, so this makes sense. And then in Android, we have a few different projects. We have activity only camera 2 sample, which we can just, I know we can get rid of right now. CloudSpin v2, which I think is the camera phone, and CloudSpin controller. Okay, so I kind of have a good idea of what's going on. This might actually be a good time to kind of discuss how CloudSpin works from an architectural level. So let's do that. Why not? I could draw. Normally this is something I would do with my hand. Maybe I should do it with my hand on paper. I'm going to do that. I haven't done like paper drawings in a while. I'm going to see if I can get a second webcam working and that kind of stuff. This will be madness. Should we give it a try? I think we should give it a try. So I am going to take a quick break for just a moment, and I'll be right back with a pad of paper and a camera set up so that you can watch me work with that pad of paper. Oh yeah, and I don't know if anybody noticed, I'm wearing a costume because it's Halloween, and in San Francisco at least, Halloween is celebrated not just by children, it is also celebrated by grown-ups who all wear Halloween costumes to everything. There's actually been people wearing Halloween costumes for weeks now. All right, so let me get this actually doing autofocus properly. Okay, so the way CloudSpin works is we have, boop, CloudSpin. And let me see if I can find a less tired Sharpie. Because of course in my tool drawer just next to me, I have a lot of Sharpies. So we have CloudSpin v2 to differentiate it from the v1 version that used PubSub and a bunch of other cool stuff. This one will work a little bit different. So the way this one is going to work is you have an actual physical setup, a physical ring of phones. And on this, there are a whole bunch of different Android devices. And you always have an odd number. And the reason you always have an odd number is because you want one camera right in front of the center of the ring. And then what you do is you have, these should all be spaced evenly. I'm just terrible at drawing. So you have a whole bunch of Android phones, and then you have a cool person doing some cool thing, like maybe they're jumping in the air, maybe they're throwing something up, maybe they're with their friend and they're like doing some cool matrixy sword fightery move, or just hanging out. They want that kind of bullet time picture. So the way these work is we have Android phones, and these phones act as cameras. And what they do is they all take video clips of what's going on. They take a whole bunch of simultaneous record, like 2 or 3 seconds of video clips. And the way they are signaled is that there is an operator. So, okay, so these are cool people. And we have an operator back here. And the operator has another Android device. This is the control tablet. And the way the events happen is, let me get a different color so we get some contrast here. I'll use an actual pen. Is the operator will press a button on the control device. The pen's not working very well either. Let's grab a different colored thing. How about this blue pen? So the operator will hit a button on the control tablet, and then that will send a signal to all of these different phones to take a picture. So take a picture, or specifically they're taking a clip. So they all will record like a 2-second clip. And then in the background, there is the people doing cool stuff, but there's also a synchronization clock. Like it's a stopwatch. And all these cameras are also capturing that stopwatch. Because as it turns out, sending accurate signals to a whole bunch of phones is hard to do outside of you. If you want to implement it, you have to do it in hardware, and that's not very cloudy. So we're synchronizing that through Firebase. And so there's going to be some delay of some number of hundreds of milliseconds. Great. OK, so now we have that clock up there. What we do is all the video devices are capturing that clock, and that clock does run in real, like they're all recording the same clock, so that the frames, the seconds and hundredths of a second travel at the same time. So what we can do later is we can extract that and synchronize all of these video clips. Great. Oh, incidentally, we also want this system to be able to support multiple rigs in multiple different locations on the same software backend. And we have, of course, our big one, which is rig 3 in this picture. So we want to be able to support multiple simultaneous events, which is pretty cool. Great. OK. So that means that, at least at the top level, the 2 Android apps we're going to be implementing are, we're going to be implementing this operator device, which is kind of the controller app, which allows the person operating it to go like, hey, you should jump in 3 seconds. Boop. 3, 2, 1, yay, jump, and then capture the picture and come back down. We have to write an Android app for each of these cameras. And the clock is just a piece of hardware. It does not need any timing. And what I'm hoping to do is that this is actually like a web app. And on a Chromebook would be awesome. Or a TV. So we got lots of phones. These are all running on phones. The controller app is running on a tablet. Nexus 9, I think, is the hardware we have, and I want to reuse as much of that hardware as possible. Let's see if we can get a little more lighting down here. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole setup. There's actually one other piece to it, too, which is once you get your awesome thing captured, you, as the cool people, come over here to the last phase of this project, which is the big command center of it, the status screen. So the status of all of it happening, status monitor. And that has a whole bunch of, you can actually see like all your data flow through all those events. So that means that like, as all the cloud functions run, we need to be able to signal that different events are happening in the back end, that each one of your GIFs is getting created. And then you also have access to a Chromebook or a tablet to pick stuff. So we have a status console, which is a big old web app on a TV. And that's a web app. And then on a Chromebook, what you will go to is your cool person, you will have a picker, where you will pick your favorite GIF of all of the different frames that we created, and you can also share it on social media. So we have a few different things we have to write as part of kind of the overall cloud platform. We have this, this is, I guess, the status monitor. We have the GIF picker. We have the status monitor. We have the controller app. We have the camera apps. And these are all being kind of coordinated via, of course, Firebase. The Firebase real-time database is kind of what we're using to signal to all these different systems how to kind of do their coordination. And the reason we're using Firebase real-time database versus like the newly released Firestore or other options is because like this one's actually taking advantage of some features. This may always work best on the older real-time database. But specifically, there's one feature that's probably real-time database centric that we'll probably be sticking with for a while, which is the fact that one of the challenges we ran into on version 1 is when network connections get bad, sometimes we'll lose a phone at random or something like that on network connectivity, and that'll bring the whole demo, like make it kind of a pain. We have to troubleshoot and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that we actually rely on pretty heavily is presence. Firebase real-time database has a presence API that's not available this time on Firestore, Cloud Firestore, but we'll be using this very heavily. So we're going to be implementing this on the RDGA real-time database for a while. We may eventually migrate it to Cloud Firestore, but I don't see that happening anytime in the immediate future. So we're going to continue on the existing design of using the classic real-time database, which will be available forever. I mean, there's certain use cases that'll always work best on it. Yep, okay, so what we have been working on for a while is, oh yeah, I have another piece here. There's a whole bunch of cloud functions that do processing. So that's completely illegible, but that's all of the cloud functions that do all of the processing, which are also connected via the Firebase real-time database. And that's what we've been working on for like the first 6 sessions of this stream, is just working on some of that processing. Now I'm going to be taking a step back, and I'm going to be spending time on these Android apps that will interact with that via Firebase, which is one of the cool things about building something from this kind of model, where we have all these independent apps that are all coordinating via kind of a central hub and spoke model, is as long as I have an idea of what that hub is and the way it does the data exchange and the format between them, which is really easy as a one-person team, and also not that hard as a multi-person team, I can implement any of these things in any order I want, which may not be the order that they show up in a diagram like this. Cool. So what I'm doing today is I'm taking some of the previous work that my intern worked on over the summer, which is around the Android app and the operator app, and I'm going to kind of shuffle them around and get them, and then merge in some of the stuff I did around the Cloud Functions processing side of it earlier in the stream. So that's what I've been up to for the last few minutes. And hey, I see that Slayer Darth has joined us in the Twitch chat. Slayer Darth says, hey Jen, I hope your door isn't getting bombarded by trick-or-treaters today. And no, I have not been bombarded by trick-or-treaters. It's still pretty early afternoon here. It's 12:53. Just afternoon. So trick-or-treaters tend to show up around 3 or 4 p.m. in San Francisco, and I live in a condo building. So it's a very small. There's only one child in our whole building. So I may not see any trick-or-treaters today outside of trick-or-treaters that hang out at my office. Okay, but it's great to see you. Thanks for joining me on the stream today. So I'm going to take this diagram. I'm going to throw it aside. And since it is not very useful when I'm not explaining stuff, I'm going to get rid of this video capture device. Boop. Is that the one I want to get rid of? I hope so. Well, either I'm about to disappear or the camera's. Great, the camera disappeared properly. I should probably create an actual scene for this kind of interactive stuff later. But I have not done that yet. But yes, recapping, these document projectors are awesome. They're only like $100 and something. You can get them, and they have the newest version, the gray one, has a really high refresh rate. It's pretty slick. I use it a lot for when I'm demoing electronics building and that kind of stuff. So Slayer Darth reports that trick-or-treaters don't have to be limited to kids. Plenty of opportunistic people in their late teens and early 20s. There are plenty of opportunistic people in their late teens and early 20s, but most of them hang out a few blocks away from me at the bars and clubs nearby. And they have a great time on Halloween. Halloween is also a really big party holiday around here. And I may have had a busy weekend this past weekend checking out some of the nearby shows, which is a lot of fun. So yes, even if you're in a place that does not celebrate Halloween that much, I encourage you to go find some fun. Okay, so now that I explained that, some of that background, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to move these things around a little bit. And I'm going to, I'm going to kind of reshuffle the apps so that they're all in the root of the project. What does the README say right now? Not a lot. I don't even explain the different components. So I'm probably going to take a picture of that terrible drawing and stuff it in here for now. But not at the moment. Okay, so let's quit this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a root directory for each one of those big components. Oops. I'm going to go back to Cloud Spin because apparently I just closed that terminal. Let me drag our to-do list off the screen. And let's go take a look. Okay, wait, where did the other one go? It's right there. There we go. Okay. So I only need one terminal up at the moment. So we're going to take these Android apps and we're going to move them back to the root. This is going to make downstream merges pretty rough. So at some point, which is not as fun to watch me backport changes, I'm going to go back and take a peek at some of the other stuff coming through in those branches and see if any of them are worth merging. But I'll take care of that off stream. That's not very exciting. So actually, I'll take a peek. I'll take a peek to make sure I'm not about to cause a huge disaster. So I need a browser. I need a browser that's logged into my GitHub. Is this one logged into my GitHub? Hey, it is! So we can go to the CloudSpin organization, which has a single project, the CloudSpin demo. And there's that thing I just pushed in. There are no open pull requests. One open issue of when will the demo code be released? Hey, I'm working on it. And that was filed, of course, like 24th of February 2016 or something. Oh, no, this year. Oh, okay. Some people had some conversation about the code coming out. I should probably reply to that, but I'll do that off stream. Because, you know, if people are actually interested, I would love to keep them interested. And here's a bunch of the code that Hassani did. Got it. Okay. And there anything weird in the branches that I need to worry about causing trouble? A couple merge branches. Let me just do some general cleanup work. Refactoring recording. Just make sure none of these need to be pulled in. This looks like probably an incomplete branch because he did not create a pull request. So let's take a look at let's compare it. Oh, some of these are from me. A lot of files got added, some pictures changed. Hey, it's an interesting icon. Yeah, there's a bunch of like XML coming in and stuff like that. I'm just going to ignore all these branches that are just hanging out without pull requests. We have no pull requests coming in. One branch, which is the activity 2 sample, which I'm just going to delete that one now. Or I'll leave it there. I might have to tinker with it later. And because, you know, it's a shame to reproduce your stuff that you've already done. Bunch of separate branches, including some for the different functions. Interesting. That one I can also clean up. It's done. Okay, let's take a look at this one because that's the FFmpeg stuff. Oh, that's the one I just created. Okay. I want to... Can I create a branch from someone else's... Can I create a pull request from someone else's branch? I can. Which is also a great way to peek into the changes that have happened. So some cleanup on the getIgnore. Sample code on that function. Hard-coded reference to an object in storage. Yeah, it looks like Hassani was not completely done with this stuff, so I won't merge that in either. Okay, that's enough of me bouncing around the branches. I'm just going to leave all those branches just hanging out. I'll go back and I'll manually merge in the stuff that needs to be merged in, but it seems like there's some incomplete code in them. I'll clean up and delete them later. So let's just move around the different directories we have. So we have activity only camera 2 sample. That is just kind of an example of using the camera 2 from an activity because I'm not a big user of Android fragments. Oh yeah, this is going to be another like interesting thing. You can hear all of my philosophy on how to build Android apps, which is actually a little bit different than a lot of other Googlers. I actually don't use fragments very often. I don't think they're worth the complexity in most cases. I know, it's such a sacrilege right there. Someone's going to send me an angry ping about that offline. Anyway, so CloudSpin v2 is actually the camera app. So let's move that. Spin v2 ... So it's called Cloud Spin v2 because it was the first app that was written as part of this kind of rejump of the project. So we'll call this the Android app. And I'm probably going to re-import this into it has its own. So I'm gonna re-import this into rm-rf. I'm gonna re-import this into into Android Studio. What's in the docket? Ignore. That looks fine. Yeah, that's basically a standard Android project get ignore. That looks fine. Okay, we'll see what happens when we import it in Android Studio. So next in the Android directory, we have the activity to only camera to sample, which I'll probably just blow away. We have an idea directory here. I'm not sure why. And then we have the controller. So Cloud Spin controller will be controller Android app. Or should it be operator app, controller? We'll do controller. And then within Cloud Functions, we have a backend directory. I think I'll just call this backend. There we go, the backend. So that's where all the processing happens. We'll just call it backend. I like that name. So let's go ahead and let's see at the control if there's any cruft there I need to get rid of. No, there's actually almost nothing here. None of the build artifacts or anything. Let's take a look. But the whole app is there, and there's a launcher icon and all that. Single activity app. Yeah, these don't need to be very complicated apps. These are probably going to be single activity apps. Which means I guess I could have one super app that does everything. That's probably a better approach to this because I can probably get better reuse. Where any arbitrary Android device can either become a controller or a camera. That might actually be the smartest approach to this. It's certainly the least crufty. But then it does not line up as well with the, because this is intended both as a demo. It is also intended as an example project. And one of the benefits, one of the kind of design considerations of example projects is I want people who have limited understanding of Android to be able to get in quickly and find the functionality they're interested in understanding. And this is also a demonstration of having two separate Android apps that coordinate using a Firebase real-time database. So although in a production situation, I'm going to get more code reuse from having a single Android app that does both functions, and it's probably a better app, I'm going to stick with two Android apps like I have here, which is a bit of an anti-pattern because it's a better demonstration of some of the things I want to demonstrate through this project. Yeah, I will do that. Okay. What would be really cool is if I did the controller in iOS, like wrote it in Swift or something. That might come in a later incarnation of this project. So let's make some placeholders for some of the other stuff we need, the web apps. So that's going to be, we have the status. Let me take a look at my handy dandy diagram I did just a moment ago. I have a status thing, the big status monitor, and the GIF picker. We'll make a GIF picker web app. I'll actually use the same. So this is definitely going to be a kind of demonstration of how to use a whole bunch of different separate components at once. And I'm going to cough, so I'm going to mute. And then the other thing we need is, so we have the controller Android app, the camera Android app, Oh yeah, the status monitor. Status monitor. You have the GIF picker, and that's pretty much everything. Cool. So those are all the different places we have. So let's go take a look. Let's fire up one of these Android apps and see if it runs. And I just realized I didn't grab my Android phone, and I think running the emulator will bring my computer to its knees, because it turns out like a regular laptop and streaming is actually, it's a lot of load for my tiny cute laptop. So I'll be right back in just a moment. I'm going to go into hiding mode and mute my mic, and I'm going to grab my actual hardware phone so that I can run the Android app on it. And I'm back. So I found my phone. It's a Pixel, the first Pixel. I like it a lot. And I found a USB-C cable, so I can push code to it. And that's what we'll be doing. And I will bring up something so that all of you can see it. It is an application with, it's kind of fishy something, like, I don't know. It's built around a Chrome plugin. And it kind of has weird permissions for doing the licensing. But it is a wonderful application. It's called Visor. So let's go ahead and view that. Boop. Oh, I'm still in super secret hacking mode. Oh, that was silly of me. Okay. So I need to update my Visor. It crashes when I start it. But mysteriously, even though it crashes, it still works fine. I don't know what the deal with that is. So I'm going to drag this over here and then make it so it fits above the camera. It doesn't want to do that. Hey, there it goes. So as long as I drag to the side. Okay, so there you can see a picture of my phone. You can see calendar appointments and stuff like that. I'm flying tomorrow. Yay. Okay. And it is my real phone, so I get to be in stream paranoia mode. And yes, I have an update pending. And yes, the battery life is low. And yes, it's beautiful here. These are all the things you get to learn about my life. So next we're going to do is we're going to fire up Android Studio. So it'll take just a moment to get started. You can see where the actual physical center of my screen is. Yay, Android Studio! So let's drag it over. And of course, I'm sure we'll want to update a bunch of stuff, because it does every time. Android Studio is ready for update. I'm going to do that later. And hopefully I'm not dropping too many frames as I fire up Android Studio and it eats all of my CPU. So far, only 70 drop frames the entire session. Hey, this is going pretty well. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I don't know what project is open now. But what project is open now? Oh, a universal translator, zero to code universal translator. It's an app written in Java and Kotlin. It's fun. Anyway, we are going to open, we're just gonna close this and we're gonna do the import flow. So we're going to import a project from existing code. Or start a new project on top. Let's just start a new project on top of an old one. No, this doesn't work in Android Studio. That works great in IntelliJ. It doesn't work so great in Android Studio. So I'm going to go on down to my program, which is currently living in the Cloud Spin repo. And this is roughly alphabetical. And we're going to start our work with the camera Android app. Actually, maybe we should do the controller. Controller is mostly just moving around stuff. Let's start with the controller. So the controller needs to be able to take advantage of the latest features. Instant run. No, I don't like. I don't actually use Instant Run that often. We strongly upgrade your Gradle plugin. Well, I should probably upgrade the Gradle. That's a pretty big Gradle plugin update. So let's go ahead and do that. Like a lot of these auto scripts in Android Studio work really well now. So generally, I just let them do whatever they want to do. And it usually works out okay. And it is didn't really quite work out. So it says, I need Google services.json file. Yeah, I probably do. So I need to log back in as this project and then hook this thing up to Giphiator. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to go into super secret hacker mode while I do Well, I sign out of my account. And I will sign into my other account, which is going to put a super secret URL on the screen, which you could use and cause all sorts of sadness. Because OAuth. So we're back. I'm not talking ahead. We want the coding view. Yep, so I went ahead. I have authenticated, which is all great and stuff. Ingress is giving me a notification. Go away, Ingress. And let's go ahead and there we go. And I want to add Firebase to this project, which will create the Google services.json file. And I can pick pretty much any one of these, but I'm using the real-time database. So I'm going to connect to Firebase. Within this project, yep, I'll choose an existing Giphiator. This is the project we're using for all of our hacking around on this, which will probably not be the one I use in production, but we'll go ahead and use this here. So it's connecting to the app to Firebase. No clients will be able to take a project for one of the following. Oh, I already have an SSHA1 named. Okay, so what is it? An app with this package name and SSHA1 is already connected to a Google project. That's because this has been developed against a different project. So I never really figured out a good way to deal with this. So this is basically saying that this one's already hooked up to an existing project somewhere else. So I can probably remove it from that project, which I think is what I'm going to do, which I'm going to do in super secret hacker mode. Boop, hiding again. Oh my gosh, I'm hiding a lot this session. I'm going to go into my super secret project, and I'm going to remove the app from that project so I can go to my experimental project. And I need a universal two-factor authenticator to do that. Oh my gosh, I've been mute for like a half hour. Hi again. I just realized I forgot to unmute last time, so you just missed the last like 20 minutes of me talking. So sorry about that. But right now, basically what I'm doing is I'm just shuffling projects around because this Android Studio project is already connected to a different project, and I'm going to disconnect it so I can attach it to my current project. And this is one of the things, you can't have the same Android package and SHA, the developer key, on more than one Firebase project at a time. And I haven't really figured out a good way around this other than deleting it from the old project. So I'm going to go to this one, and I want to remove. How do we remove it? And I want to remove it from there. And right now there's a whole bunch of like API keys and stuff up. So is that all of the apps? General. So I'm going into my project and I'm removing all the apps. Okay, so we're going to go into this and we're going to delete this app. So I'm deleting my app from existing projects. Okay, I think they're all gone now. Okay, so let's go back to regular view. Boop. We're live again. And I'm going to connect to Firebase. I'm going to wire this up to the Giphiator project and hope for success this time. No clients could be added. So I can either like purge my developer key, use a different developer key, or I can just change the package name. I'm just going to do the refactor and change the package name. So I'm going to rename it. What could go wrong? So I'm going to change the actual package. So this is the Cloud Spin project. And I'm actually going to add another package layer anyway. Yep, do the refactor. Rename it everywhere. I trust you, IDE. I'm going to add a new package. Since this is the controller app, we're going to move that in there. What could go wrong? And then, so now the package I'm going to want to use for the whole project is com.google.cloudspin the controller. And I think I have to change it in a few other places, like some are one of the Gradle settings files, and then the package com.google.cloudspin. That's going to be the package for this. And then I think in one of the Gradle files it shows up too. Apply plugin, application ID, which should match the package I use everywhere else. Then we're probably going to have to do a global clean to keep it from having a catastrophe. And it says, my Google Services JSON is missing. Yes, I know that. I'm trying to get that there. It'll be okay. Trust me thing. Okay, and why are you grumpy down here? You were grumpy because the generated files aren't generating. So let's do one of my favorite things to do, which is invalidate caches and restart. Since we did a pretty big, ugly refactor, and it probably made a bunch of stuff grumpy. And then we will see if we can add this to the Humble Giphiator project. Yeah, I understand the reason why you can't have the same app with the same developer key on more than one project, but it is kind of annoying that, like, I haven't found a good way to work around dealing with it. I usually just change the package on the project every time, rather than go through and like use different keys, because that's harder. Oh, it's a major Android Studio change. Okay. I'm going to update it. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to make all of you sit through me updating my tool. This is a common thing that happens in Android development. You update Android Studio. It used to be like silly often that we did it. Now it's much more stable than it was when it first came out. But still, there's sometimes you got to download patch files and stuff. And anyway, in the meantime, let's see if it won't let me do anything while that's happening. Wow. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have made you sit through that. So, I guess we have a minute here to chill out. Is anybody out there watching me? If so, you should say hi. I like talking to people who watch me code. It's fun to chat about things, like Android tooling, or maybe the weather, because it's 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is nice. And one of the classic challenges I deal with is that it gets very hot in the corner of my room where I code, although that will soon be solved because you can see kind of a white line in kind of the view there that runs up along the wall. I'm running some Ethernet through my house, so I am going to be able to move to our guest room will become a guest room / streamy recording studio very soon. Oh, wow, it's a big patch. The little Java character popped up down there. But yeah, so I'll be moving to a more controlled environment, controlled both in temperature and lighting and things like that, which should be a big improvement on the video quality of my streams. So I'm pretty excited about that. I just have to run, of course, Cat 6, of course, multiple lines. I think I can fit, I'm running a channel along the baseboard, and I think I can fit like six different Cat 6 cables through it, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I'll import all my settings. Let's see if this works. But yeah, so once that happens, it'll be it should really improve the quality of the video and the audio and the background noise problems and all that stuff. Because I'll have a controlled environment. The downside is you won't be able to see my my hammock anymore. And you know, loft living is all about having a hammock in your living room. Oh my gosh, more updates. Unregistered VCS root. I'm just gonna let it keep updating stuff. Yeah, update now. Accept. the license agreements. I'll make you sit through a few more update cycles. This part might get cut out of the final video. My phone went to sleep. Start plugging that back in. Because my phone didn't actually go to sleep. I just lost sight of it. Oh, probably Android Studio probably kicked ADB. Yay, we're back. Okay. So, hey, it's running again and it's indexing. And eating up all my CPU, as developer tools often do. But we are almost there. We'll almost be able to run this and see things happen. Do you want to be able to accept internal networking connection? Sure, that's Android Studio. I'm sure it has a good reason for that. And it is almost done indexing and building. Because the first thing I'd be doing now is a Gradle sync anyway. And this is one of the things that happens in Android projects. If things are all kind of broken when I first do it. Oh, it wants another Gradle update, another major version. Wow. This is what happens when you don't run Android Studio for like 3 or 4 weeks, is you spend 20 minutes doing updates. Because that's the second major Gradle update. So it's going to Gradle sync again. When it's down to only that update, it'll Gradle sync again. And then once the Gradle sync is done, then these generated classes over here, the resources should all magically come into existence. But yeah, it has been fun streaming and stuff online. Okay, now you want a new version of build tools. So let's install a new version of build tools. Finish. Okay. Update build tools in sync project. So now we're changing our Gradle file to use the build tool I just downloaded. And now it's doing a Gradle sync. And now it says I can't find Google Services JSON, which means we're getting closer, which means now I should be able to go to here, to the little Firebase panel, go to real-time database, and connect to Firebase. And it took it off screen, thankfully. So we'll go ahead and we will, off screen what it's doing is it's going through an OAuth flow. And I completed that OAuth flow. And I want to wire this up. Hey, we're back to this view where I'm trying to wire it up to the Giphiator project. And it looks like it made it a little further. Hey, Firebase project is now created and connected locally to module app. Yay! Okay. So what that did is it brought in that Google Services.json file, which means we can go over to our Gradle scripts now, and we can trigger a Gradle sync. And there's like some icon I can do for this here or something. Like one of these buttons does it. I think that one does it. Usually what I do is I just add a new line and remove it, and then it pops up the do you want to do a Gradle sync. And then we can go over to the app view. Wow, this is a pretty big update. It's very like open looking. And it says platform and plugin changes. Restart Android Studio to activate plugins. I don't know which plugin it's talking about. Hopefully just like the Markdown editor or something. Anyway, so our things are still red squiggly. So let's go ahead and trigger another Gradle sync and actually see if there's some errors while the Gradle sync occurs. So Gradle build is running again, and the red squiggles are at least temporarily gone. No, they're still red there. But hey, they went away! Yay! Okay, so we got to the point we updated a lot of our toolchain, which is always good to do, and now we can probably see this run. Unless like this has like a bunch of hard-coded stuff in it. Let's just make sure there's nothing No gotchas anywhere on this one. Doesn't look like it. This looks like a pretty simple Android app. Single activity. Let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and run the app on, I can either run an emulator or my actual real physical device. Of course a physical device, because building Android apps against physical devices is a more pleasurable experience. So going ahead and we're running. Then once that is complete, we'll be able to push our simple app over and see what it looks like. And I can even give you a preview while that's building. Go to the layout, we can see in the little layout editor. It should look something like this when that's done rendering. Here's a little thing that using, it looks like it's a constraint layout. So the first thing it did is it took me through an authentication flow. It looks like it's using Firebase Auth, which is pretty cool. And then this has the capability to create a rig once it's done authenticating. And what a rig is on this picture here, while that's loading up, I'll switch it over. A rig is, so each one of these giant things, each one of these demo instances, so there's one in this, like in the present location. We could also want to support multiple people demoing at multiple locations simultaneously. This is kind of the concept of a rig. And a rig is, you know, a set of phones that can do a capture and all that stuff. So we're going back to this view, and the app appears to be hung. So we're going to go back and let's go ahead and give it a run again. You can see all the little apps I've hacked at various times. What does this thing's icon look like? Oh, there it is, Cloud Spin Controller. It has a round icon. So we'll go ahead and we'll exit out of that. Whoop. We'll pull it over. Whoop. And we're going to try running it again. And hey, when I restarted it, it went to the Contacts app. I think I must have misclicked. So where did there it is, Cloud Spin Controller. It goes and it hangs on authentication. So it doesn't really work quite yet. Okay, let's try looking at a different app. So let's also open. So we're going to code. We're going to go back into Cloud Spin and we're going to open the other app. It's the Android camera app. Let's take a look at this. We're going to open it in a new window. Since this one appears to be kind of a little bit broken. There's only there's not that much code in there right now. This one says I need to upgrade all the Gradle plugins. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. It says I need to update build tools. So we'll do that too. On this one, let's take a look at the package. Is the package naming convention? It's different. Let's just kind of unify that with the naming convention we have here, which is com.google.cloudspin.thing. So let's go ahead and rename it. We'll do the giant refactor. Yes, fix everything. And this has, looks like mostly camera, looks like the camera 2 sample is mostly in here. And there's like a helper library with some stuff here for camera status. We'll create a new package since we're doing those both in parallel. Cloud Spin, and this is camera. So this is the Cloud Spin camera. And then what we'll do is we'll drag all of these into here, do the giant refactor. Nope, not there. So I want to unsquish these. Oh, that squished that view. So I want to unsquish these. Hide middle packages. We want to unhide the middle packages so I can drag all these here because I kind of dragged them in the wrong order. Could have done it all at once. And we will compact empty middle packages again because Java is wordy. We'll go in and fix all the application identifiers. This has a bunch of obsolete stuff in it. Oh, looks like it has 2. That's weird. That is not the order I usually see that in. So where's the application name? So, okay, so where is, interesting. Okay, so a lot of these things. Let's try running this and see what happens. Oh yeah, first I have to go and add the Firebase stuff to it. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go back over to Firebase land. We'll go to real-time database. And we will connect to Firebase. Our config file was found, but indicates it is set up for different projects. Let's go ahead and delete that. So we're going to go over. So it says this has already been connected to a different project, but it's like I changed the package name of a bunch of other stuff. So let's delete the old Google services.json, which contains all the keys and stuff that connects it to that project, to Firebase, and other parts of other Google APIs I might use. We're going to give it a fresh start. So we're going to connect this to Firebase, which does a whole bunch of stuff. No clients are able to be added to your Firebase for the following reasons. An app with this package name and SHA1 is already connected to a Google project. Oh, that's annoying. Client package name, Google Spin Photo. Okay, that's it. So somewhere in here, there is a Google Spin Photo is kind of being a holdout. So find and path. Nothing to show. Okay, so now we will do the, it might be in a cache somewhere. Was it Cloud Spin Photo? I think it was Cloud Spin Photo. So I'll search again for find and path. Ooh, a bunch of places. These are all in the build and project. So what's this manifest for? This is, where is this? That's in debug. I want to do find and path. I don't want to search all the build directories though. Okay, let's clean then. That's one way to get rid of them, is to clean the project. Because the search is finding a bunch of stuff, a bunch of build artifacts. And it says I can't even do a clean without Google services.json. Yay, I have one of these kind of cyclic situations. So let's manually search all the places it might be. And okay, so now I'm just going to kick it out. So we're going to invalidate caches and restart this app. Invalidate and restart, because I think what's happened is this is stuck somewhere in one of the build caches or something. Android Studio restarted twice that time because it mentioned that a plugin had was now available as a built-in support. Markdown support's built in now, which is cool. So we're bringing the project back up. We've invalidated a bunch of caches. There's nothing really useful in here, is there? I'm just gonna get rid of the entire test thing for now. I don't think that's actually doing much for me. I have to wait for it to finish building all those caches again. io.fabric.stk. It's all just generated stuff. Interesting. Whenever you go into someone else's code, even if it's someone you've been working with for a while, interesting things appear sometimes. Let's delete this file again. Is this the right one? Oh, this is a controller app. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong app. That's why. It was my own code. Well, it was still my former intern's code. But let's go ahead and open recent. So if I want to go ahead and look at the other Render Studio, here it is. Here's the camera app. Go back and kick visor again. I should probably update visor so it stops doing that. So here we are. So back to here. I'm going to close the controller for now. Save some CPU cycles. Since it looks like all my IDE restarting is starting to make me drop frames, which is no, we can't drop frames. Okay. This is a weird order. Anyway, going through all of these, let's see if I can get it to, where does the app ID actually specified? Where is it picking it up from? Where is the app ID? Where does it actually live? The application ID lives in the build.gradle file under Android default config application ID. Android, there is no application ID there. That's why that's weird, because I'm used to seeing that there. And this is just the project level stuff. Weird. And then these are probably grumpy because the Google services.json is gone. Yeah, that broke the generated files. So let's go ahead and try wiring up Firebase again. See if it's happier this time. If it really was just something that was trapped in a cache somewhere. Go to real-time database. Save and retrieve data. We're going to connect to Firebase once again. We're going to try and wire it up to our Giphiator project where we'll be doing a lot of our hacking. And it is connecting. No clients were able to edit this project for the following reasons. It is already connected to a project. Cloud spin photo. So this exists somewhere in there. So let's go ahead and bring up a terminal and figure out what is up with this project. Okay, so what I want to do is grep -r. Where does it exist? Okay, so we have these old Gradle 3.3 directories that have it, and we also have it in this in workspace.xml. From the fact that I tried to look for a find, we have in two Gradle 4.1 bin files. We have in this Gradle 3.3 thing, but it doesn't seem to be anywhere else. This is very frustrating. Maybe I should set it explicitly? Does this get autocomplete? Nope. So that looks, I think something's up with something here. This does not look quite right. I'll give this one try and then I'm going to take some steps back. So this should match whatever's in the manifest, which is under app, source, manifest. com.google.cloudspin.camera, which matches the Java package. Google Cloudspin camera, which needs to match this Gradle file. Let's see if that syncs. It's still going to be grumpy because the Google services JSON file is missing. But we will give it another try, and then I'll take a step back, and I'll probably just start a new project and copy over my code, which I do sometimes. Okay, so it's grumpy that that doesn't know where the Google services JSON file is. We're going to go on in to real-time database land, and we're going to try connecting to Firebase again. 5th time's the charm. Oh wait, I didn't mean to create a new project. That was a bad idea. Can I stop that? Apparently I can't. It's still trying to run. Apparently stopping that did nothing. How do I disconnect though? I disconnect by going in and deleting Google services.json. Oh, well, at least I can probably get the Gradle build to work. Let's get, since I've gone to the trouble of creating a new Firebase project for it, I might as well try getting Gradle to sync. And it still can't resolve it. Combat.google.cloudspin.r? Okay, that's a little weird. Why is R getting referred to explicitly? That might have been the result of my refactor. But hey, Gradle synced. Okay, that's some progress. So let's go back over to, we're still in project view. Now we can try connecting it up to our project that we do care about. But now I've created a new problem, is that I've created that project that it's now wired to, which actually shows up here, this one. And I don't want this, I want to delete this. So because remember that package and SHA fingerprint conflict? I've created that again by creating a new project. So I actually want to delete this whole project. Because I created that by accident. That's what was going on when Android Studio was doing all that syncing stuff that I was trying to cancel. Because I want to use Giphiator as my development project. So I deleted everything, so let's try connecting it to Giphiator. And then I'm probably going to call it a day on this stuff. I think this will just be the stream where I wrestled with Android Studio for about an hour, which is an important part of Android development. The tooling for mobile development is a lot more complicated than, it's different. The fight you end up fighting is a little bit different than I'm used to fighting for doing web dev type stuff. So let's go ahead and, how do I tell it it's no longer connected? I guess I close and restart it. So now will it know that it's no longer actually connected? Yay! It figured that out. It got a clue. We're going to connect to Giphiator, and we will see if it lets me add it to that project. Yay! It actually connected and ran it. That's exciting. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this on my Google Pixel. And it found a whole bunch of red squiggles that looks like the result of my big old refactor. Are they all in the same file? They're all in the same file. So we will get them a search and replace. We will just remove the package, because those don't need to be fully qualified package names. And that should make all the red squiggles go away. It should allow me to run this. Now we watch its Gradle build is running. I don't know what it's running from. Probably my code. And while it does that, I will do what all developers do. Oh my gosh, I'm almost out of coffee today. It's important to drink coffee. Makes the code happen. Turns bitter bean water into code. Hey, build was successful. Let's try actually running it. Would like to take pictures and record video? Yeah. Would like to record audio? I don't know why it needs to record audio. But it does. I should probably fix that. And it's hanging on authentication again. I've seen this one work though. So these apps are just in kind of a medium broken state. Because you know, you're an intern, you're leaving, you're going back to school. You don't always focus on getting all the stuff as happy as possible. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. We'll close it and we'll try running it again. Boop. And this is Cloud Spin. And then it just kind of sits there and hangs. Okay, so some of the authentication stuff is not really wired up right. But we have some of that design. So what I'm probably going to go through is there's something a little bit weird at the Gradle build in this project, so I'm not sure I'm going to try and fix it in place. I might create a new project and pull things over one at a time after I spend some time kind of working through what I want these interfaces to look like. But I think that's going to happen in next week's stream, which will be live from Belgium, because I'm going to Belgium. I'm going to be in Antwerp. Is that right? Yes. I'm going to be in Brussels for a few days, and then I'm heading a little bit north for a conference called DevOps, which is an autism conference, and I've wanted to go to for years, so I'm super excited. So I'll be coming to you live from Belgium, probably late in the night local time in Belgium, because we learned that 2200 hours GMT is a good time to stream, which I guess is like midnight there. And it looks like this is, I was giving it a few minutes to see if it actually did eventually pass the authentication. So it sounds like some of the authentication callbacks or something just go nowhere in this app right now. And which means I need to spend some time going through this project and getting a feel for what of the code I want to pull in and what of it I do not want to pull in. And I guess that's a good place to finish for today. It is not as exciting as my streams usually are, at least in the second half, so I apologize for that, but thank you a lot for hanging with me while I struggled with Android tools for 2 hours. And on that note, I'm going to call it a day, unless anyone has any questions from watching me bounce around in Firebase and Android Studio land. But if not, I will see you all next week, and happy Halloween. Go run, find some fun, do all that cool stuff. And in the meantime, happy hacking. Bye, everybody.